what makes it change over time. And when we're relaxed, when we're well trained, when we're well recovered, we're healthy, then that interval changes, right? I'm just going to use a spike. So that interval changes as your heart contracts. More variability. So we have lots of variability here. Every one of these intervals are different, and that's a good thing. Your body's in relaxation, so your heart's saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be super stressed out and beat with the same interval every time. I'm going to be relaxed, and I have this more variability." That's a good thing. That's what we're really looking for, as opposed to a spike that is very close to being even with each of the intervals. Lower variability. So high heart rate variability is a good thing. Low heart rate variability is a bad thing. And now you can start to imagine when I'm talking about, when you're relaxed, when you're well recovered, the things that cause this to happen, which are anything related to stress. And we of course have good stress, we have bad stress. We have good stress with exercise, we have good stress, some good environmental stressors and that sort of thing. But all stress in some way, shape, or form causes problems for our body. And then our body needs to recover from those stresses and become a little bit better than it was before. So we may have, we have exercise stress. We're doing our exercise training, which is of course a good thing, but the actual act of exercise is not all that great for our body. You can imagine if I did 2 exercise sessions a day for 10 days in a row, you're not going to feel very well. You're going to be overtrained. And so one of the things that we can do is monitor training status. So we can monitor training. And with training, we can tell whether someone's more fit versus another person who is less fit, but we can also monitor overtraining or readiness to train. And we do that in what we like to do with heart rate variability is do it over a 7-day average. So there's 2 things that we need to get for heart rate variability to really make it useful. One is an individual baseline. And the other is some knowledge about what happens over the day. So we might do a 7-day average. And what that helps with, both of these things help with, is that from day to day, your heart rate variability can change. So if we measure resting heart rate every morning, and we get a heart rate variability measure from that resting heart rate, that variability each day can change, and highly variable. So this heart rate variability from every day, it can change, it can go up and down, and we can't make definitive conclusions about this day versus this day when your heart rate variability goes up, or the next day that it goes down. But what really becomes powerful is if we start looking at the average heart rate variability over several days. So if this trend of downward heart rate variability measurements continues, we can start to make conclusions about this decrease. This decrease is not a good decrease. Heart rate variability is decreasing, something is wrong, stressors, and if we know things about the person, if we have their wearable measuring their exercise, and we know what their duration and intensity is, if we know from their wearable what their sleep patterns are, if we know from their wearable what their just general activity is, then we can start to narrow down recommendations, actionable feedback on reducing this downward trend or changing this downward trend into an upward trend. They need to get more sleep. They need to, take a nap, eat better, work on stress reduction techniques and those sorts of things to get more of an upward facing trend.